Alright, so over the past few months, I have been working on this little piece here, and I call it my Active Chamber Temperature Manager, or ACTM for short. Use two of these 97-33mm blower fan to pull the air from within my chamber through one of these commercially available HEPA filter, and an additional carbon basket which you can fill up with carbon pellets for extra filtration. All of the clean air coming through can either be exhaust out of the printer to keep the chamber temperature down, or with the help of that servo motor right there, it can be pumped back into the system to assist with the heating. The CAD model for this thing is actually free, and I will link to it down below in the description. With that said, there is a paid version for this model, and in it I had bundle additional assembly guide and the clipper config that I used for my specific unit here. So if you have a Trident and if you like what I'm doing, please consider support me by buying the model. With that said, the main topic for today is not about this unit in of itself, but rather about the idea of chamber temperature as a whole. And I want to run you guys through a bunch of tests that I have done, the background behind everything and all of that, so that we can quantify it as much as possible on what it is, how we measure it, what should we expect if I use this ACTM unit, and hopefully we can get as many people on the same page as we can on this topic. Now, chamber heating has always been a contentious topic among DIY 3D printers. Many people swear that they need a chamber heater to do whatever they want to do with their printer, and many others look at that statement with extreme skepticism. And some just want to get as hot as possible because, well, why the hell not? Getting into the new setup and the tests that had been done around it, let's have a quick recap on what had been there before and what was wrong with the new old setup. At the very top of the printer here, you see a Nevermore Stealth Max. Now, right out of the bat, the one biggest problem with this unit is that it was never designed to allow sufficient exhaust of the hot air out of the system. And here's a picture of the single 65-30mm fan in this unit versus the two 97-33 in the new setup. And what that means is that even at 100% exhaust mode, this system cannot keep the chamber cold enough to print with something like POA or PETG. With that said, I cannot actually tell how hot the chamber temperature is at any given moment in this machine, because when I got my heat creep problem with POA and PETG, I had my temperature sensor right there at the end of the Z track change. And well, unfortunately that is the wrong position to put your temperature sensor, specifically because of these fans here at the bottom of the bed. These two fans blow air across the bottom of the bed, and which then get deflected upward via that yellow bit at the back there. So having the temperature sensor placed there is basically like putting a heat gun to a sensor and said that your room temperature is like 40 Celsius or something, which is nonsense. So after a while, I have resorted to moving the temperature sensor to that green tab there and away from the middle section. But with that said, I still have serious doubt on this system ability to accurately detect what is the chamber temperature. Which brings us to the new setup, and as you can see, I have already placed the ACTM main unit into the corner of the printer there. And if I take the camera, looking at it from a lower point of view here, you can see that there is two additional auxiliary bits that mount two 60-20 axial fan at the bottom of the bed. These two are tasked with purely to extract as much heat from that bed as possible for the heating assistant mode of the system. Right. But of course, before we can run any tests, we need to make some assumptions. As I have pointed out in the previous video, the temperature of air is notoriously difficult to quantify. It's all because it's such a bad material for conducting heat. And things like airflow can actually have major impact on the sensor reading that you have out of it. In other words, if all I want is to see number go up quickly, I can just put the chamber thermistor right behind the bed, where it gets blasted with the fresh hot air from the fan beneath it blowing. And as much as that's gonna help boost my ego, it doesn't really solve the problem that I'm actually facing right now, and which is heat creep from material like POA, PDG, and TPU, and when the whole thing is enclosed like this. So what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna set the glass transition temperature of POA as the point that you need to be able to detect for whatever it is that I'm gonna set as chamber temperature. And with that in mind, I have set up two thermistors, one at the back of the printer and one at in the middle of the X gantry. In addition, I have also made sure that the tool head is in the middle of the bed, and the bed is at Z equal 50. Throughout the experiment, the tool heads are not heated. So in other words, the temperature sensor on those two heads can be also used as a data point. And the final assumption that I have for this test is that the temperature that will be detected by the nozzle of the active tool head, i.e. the one on the X gantry in the middle of the bed, will be the hottest point for the material to experience. And it should be equivalent to that within the extruder itself. So out of the two sensors that we had placed into the chamber, the one that had the closest reading to that nozzle temperature is going to be the one we pick for the chamber temperature reading. Now, I don't have any footage for the test itself because, well, all of this take literally days to run, and unfortunately I don't have a camera that would have enough memories to record all of that. With that said, I did record everything in writing on my GitLab page of Miss Changer. So I'll link this down below as well for those who are interested for a read. Here I go through a lot more detail on a lot of other things than what can be covered in this video. Anyway, if we are to go to the results section of this test here, when the active tool hit 55 Celsius, the sensor on the X gantry showed 53.2 Celsius, which is about 2 Celsius different from what the active tool temperature is reading, while the sensor at the back of the printer only reading 51.1, that is about 4 Celsius lower than what the active tool temperatures see. So what this data suggests is that the temperature detected at the center of the X gantry is a very good approximation for what the filament experience inside the extruder itself, albeit about 2 Celsius lower than it should be. That was easier than I thought. Now that we have figured out where to put our thermistor, I want to look back and start checking the performance of our new ACTM system. The first thing, of course, is to figure out how well it's gonna assist with the heating of the system. And what we're gonna keep an eye on here is actually the time it takes to hit specific chamber temperature. Most modern printer, especially the DIY one, which an AC bed heater, can hit ABS printing chamber temperature easily. It is always just a matter of time. So what I'm gonna do is, well, I'm gonna put the tool head position exactly at the center of the bed like I did before, and then I'm gonna have both fans blasting at it at 100% while the bed is set to 110 Celsius. And then we're just gonna log the time that it takes to reach specific temperature. Also simple enough. And so let us go to the result and see how we're gonna do. Here we are looking at the result, and as you can tell, not only had I logged all the data point into a little table here, I had also plotted them out into a graph with the temperature delta on the Y and the time on the X. The first thing that stands out is within 20 minutes we can get a 21.6 Celsius delta. This chamber temperature is reasonable enough for ABS printing, and if I am willing to wait to about half an hour, I can get to 52 Celsius, which is absolutely okay for something like ABS. And then when I leave the system to just keep on running, eventually it would taper out and stabilize at about 61.8 Celsius, that is 38.6 Celsius delta. after about 2 hours or so. The suggestion that I have, as I logged it down here, is that if you have a tall or large ABS print, it is suggested that you just preheat the system to 40 Celsius or 50 Celsius before starting, given that the time that it take to get there is not that unreasonable for a large print. And as the print progresses, it will eventually reach that max temperature of 61.8 Celsius. Alright, although it is not a intended output for the test just now, one key highlight that we can see from there is how long it takes for the system to reach steady state. That is to say, if you set a fan at a certain speed, a bed at a certain temperature, how long does it take for the temperature to stop rising or falling? It makes it really difficult trying to collect data if it's gonna take hours for change to take place. With that said, we do have the power of software with us. Here is the entire code that I use to automate this data collections. One thing that I want to point out here is this timing. Although it's not exactly steady state, it's still close enough. Alright, on to the final bit of result here. Right out the bat, you can tell that the temperature delta achieved is highly correlated with the temperature of the bed itself. So if you have a bed at 100 Celsius, the number almost double. What we can also see on this graph is that the relationship of the fan speed and the steady state temperature is not linear, especially at 100 Celsius here. Now, I definitely did run this several times, so this is not a misread on the sensor itself. Something is going on between the fan speed at 20 and the fan speed of 60, where the temperature actually dipped instead of rise. Nevertheless, if you have your bed at 70 Celsius, that dip is almost unnoticeable and you can just ignore it. The steady state temperature delta for the heating assist mode is not exactly the most interesting part here. The most interesting part is down here for the steady state temperature delta for the ventilation mode of the ACTM. That is to say, the fan in the main unit is exhausting at 100%, i.e. pumping the air out of the machine, while the two fan underneath the bed is not spinning. The first thing we need to notice here is at ventilation fan 0. These numbers here indicate the performance of the system itself without the ACTM. As you can see in the table down below here, the steady state temperature delta actually drops when the fan starts spinning, which in of itself is an improvement over the old Nevermore Stealth Max system. Unfortunately, what we also see on this table here is that even when the fan is at 100%, we do not get the room temperature effect that we would hope to get for material like POA and PETG. With that said, assuming that your room temperature is about 25 Celsius or so, and the bed is at 70 Celsius, you can still print POA in this system. So what's the conclusion here? Let's recap. The sensor location, it had been determined for this specific setup that I have in right now. And once again, airflow had a major impact on what the temperature reading that you get. So if your fan are in different locations in the system, your entire system will need a different location for your sensor. For the heating performance, this ACTM here had demonstrated that it can enable the max delta of 38.6 Celsius over the room temperature. It can get to ABS printing time in less than 30 minutes. That's a reasonable number in my book. As for the cooling performance, however, it left much to be desired, not gonna lie. With only a 5 Celsius decrease with both of the filters on, it's not that much of a decrease. Nevertheless, it managed to hold a POA printable temperature, so it's reasonable. And of course, if you want to have just a little more cooling performance, you can just remove the filter and rely solely on the carbon basket on top here. Or, well, if you're just printing with POA, just open the door. And that is all the testing I have for this video. Once again, I will leave the free CAD model for this ACTM system down in the description below. While you're down there, make sure to also like and subscribe. And if you appreciate what I'm doing here, please consider buying the paid version of this model. This channel is actually too small for YouTube to have it monetized, and as much as I'm doing all of this for my own enjoyment, some support from my way would be much appreciated. Thank you, and I'll see you next time.